Right.
So we can start.
We can start, yes. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to the third IHKİB IAF webinar. This webinar will deal with a very important topic of digital transformation of our industry, of the apparel, fashion, the garment industry, whatever you want to call it. Thank you for joining us, and I look forward to hearing the valuable contributions from our speakers on this topic. And I look forward to the questions that you will undoubtedly have for them. My name is Matthijs Krité, and I'm Secretary General of the IAF, the International Apparel Federation, and I'm your moderator for today. The IAF is the global federation for the clothing industry. Our membership is made up of industry associations, such as IHKİB, representing close to 60 countries on all continents. And one of the nicest things that we do, actually, that for me personally, one of the nicest things is organizing events on global topics, such as digitalization, together with one of our members, such as we're doing right now. The COVID-19 pandemic has sped up the shift to digital that was really already taking place in our industry. And there are so many advantages to using 3D digital design technology in our industry that it really is certain that the industry will go digital. It's not a question of if anymore. It really is a question of why and how. More fundamentally, digital transformation is also a topic that changes the relationships in the supply chain, the way of working between buyers and manufacturers. We think that digital transformation gives the chance for manufacturers to add more value to the process and to be more equal partners in the end, possibly translating into better prices. Everything that has to do with the connections in the supply chain is of particular interest to the IAF because we represent both the brands and the manufacturers. Before I give the word to our host of today, Mr. Mehmet Kaya, board member of IHKİB and owner and founder of TYH Textiles, let me first explain to you what you may expect in the next hour. Our first speaker, Mr. Dominique Sluiter, the head of Stitch, which is a startup affiliated to PVH, will speak of his vision of a fully digital design and product development process, and what advantages this offers to buyers and to suppliers. Then Mr. Sebastian van der Loo, VP of Global Business Development of Color Digital, will zoom in on the very important factor of color in the digital transformation. Can we design a product with exactly the right color digitally? Mr. van der Loo will also explain how all players in the supply chain can work together in a cloud-based system. Then finally, Mr. Mehmet Kaya will explain how his company has become very active in digital product design and development, and also what he feels that manufacturers need, what they need more to perform even better their role in the digital supply chain. Then after the presentations by these speakers, we will have a question and answer session in two parts. First, the moderator will have a round of questions, and maybe two rounds of questions, and then followed by the questions that come in from you. And this is very important. During the presentations, I would like to encourage you to fire away, to ask your questions all throughout the presentations through the chat function of Zoom, so that we can then answer your questions. The speakers can answer your questions in the Q&A session afterwards. It's a very interesting topic, but it's not an easy topic. So I can imagine this is a good opportunity to ask more about it. So having given this overview of what you can expect, what you will hear in about the next hour, it is time, and it's my pleasure to hand over to our host of today, Mr. Mehmet Kaya. Please.
Thank you very much, Matthias. Dear participants and representative of apparel sector, today we are having our third webinar meeting, and together with International Apparel Federation. Thank you for the opening and explanation, Matthias. It was really nice. In this webinar, we will talk about and explain digital transformation, best practices in apparel industry. Our speakers will explain digital visualization and color apparel in sector and implementing digitalization of design and product development processes. They will further evaluate these demands and highly popular on the agenda of apparel sector these days. On behalf of Istanbul Apparel Exporters Association, we would like to thank you, all valuable speakers. And this issue is such an extensive issue. And we are just talking about digitalization on digital ways, which is really meaningful for me. And without talking so much about this, I'll just welcome all and give you the word against to you. And then we will just listen first, Dominic and then Sebastian, about these new things. And I'll try to explain what is the view from our side as a manufacturer perspective of view. I hope it's going to be a really fruitful meeting for both sides. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Kaya, for welcoming us. Then it's my pleasure to announce again Dominique Sluiter, head of Stitch, and the digital floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen, so that will take probably a second here, and I'm happy, very happy to be here, I must say. Thank you for having me. I saw some of your earlier presentations, and I just heard about this opportunity to talk. So I'm very happy to be here. If you cannot see my screen running right now with a section that says 3D tools make change possible, then please shout. Otherwise, I'll proceed. So, as Matthias already said, my name is Dominic Sluiter. I work for Stitch, and Stitch is a corporate startup of PVH. I won't spend too much time on that in my 15 minutes with you here, but I do want to give a little bit of a background where I am coming from. And that's why I really made this my opening image. 3D tools make change possible. My background, I have a fashion background. I have a product development background. I started as a product developer, and one of my and the first company I started to work for was actually Nike. When I started to work there, I learned the role of a product developer, working very closely with factory partners all over the world and with designers on the other hand, right? And I did that in a very traditional way, like we've been doing for so many years, until I saw the first opportunity to work with 3D. The screen that you see right now is a screen of how we work with 3D today. 10 years ago, that looked very different. But in my first role there, I explored that intersection of how to use visual technology that don't need a word, that don't need any language, just visual communication when communicating across a brand and a factory. Very, very, very powerful. And I believe that is really the unlock for any future new way of working. So I want to take you through some of these foundational pieces. I'll tell a little bit about Stitch, about PVH, and what we're up to. And then I will also like to talk a little bit about why I believe it's so important to have a strong connection with the factories out there, and that also will need to invest in 3D, right? I'm going to start right away, jump in. So as I was saying, Stitch is a corporate startup funded by PVH. PVH, you probably know the brands Tommy Hilfiger, Calvin Klein. We are based in Europe, and all these activities are really focused on Europe. Before we go into 3D, the whole digital agenda, as we already heard in the introduction, is super relevant, right? For PVH, digital journey started in around 2015 with the digital showroom, really focused on selling, taking samples, sales samples, going through a very like high scale operational process to do photography, and using a single sample to drive all of the sales across the world. That is something that really changed the way the company has been selling, and still today very impactful. And this is something that is in the COVID time driving many brands to go digital. That's very much on the sales end, right? We often talk about the digital value chain, that digital value chain where that digital selling is very much at the end. But it is so important to have something that drives that in the beginning. Because if you go through digital selling based on photography, which is already great, but you miss a big part of the value, right? That value is when we design, when we develop, when we make prototypes in that process. That's where a big unlock is to go digital. And I think also very relevant for us here in this group. And 3D there, again, I'm coming back to that. That is the big unlock, right? That is the way we can actually simulate, we can make product decisions, we can make fit decision, visualization, placement, conversation of fabrics, of graphics, on details in a very visual way that are accurate, directly connected to the manufacturable pattern, simulated with the fabric physics onto the fit body, which you will also use in a physical world. So we can all speak about the same thing without having to go into production of it. Much faster, more efficient, less waste. The challenge there, right, is like, how do we do that at scale? These are some products that are on the market right now, designed, developed by the PVH brands together with their factories. And they can use different types of processes, right? Some of these products here, all 3D simulations are made by designers. Some of it is made by a factory, or some of it is a collaboration. But very important, what you see here, these products have been designed, developed, but also sold digital. And that is that digital value chain. So keep this image in terms of quality, right? Because I think it is very important when we talk about 3D at scale, how do we do that? But there's one other thing that really drives me, and that drives my team, right? Like, how do we bring craft back in fashion? How do we work together on a single product that can be digital, right? And really obsess the detail of the product and educate people that ask you for a sample or ask you for a product on how the detail, how the product is actually being created, and really obsess that final detail of fit, for instance. And we can all do that in a digital way. I'm going to skip this one just to make it a little bit faster to get to the center. So our team is funded by PVH. We build scalable solutions to go into 3D, right? And we have a team of experts, mostly a background in product development, design, or in 3D, but also a big team of engineers, because there are problems to solve, right? We want to do this full scale for PVH, but in the future also for other companies. We are envisioning a workflow, a process that should be able to be used by any brand. And therefore we need to really rethink that workflow and how do you use these digital tools at scale. And then talk a little bit about the how, right? Because you've seen 3D, you've seen it on the screen, and you probably heard about it, you know it, but there is certain complexity out there, right? You can do it with a group of 5 people, and you can talk and you can agree, you can follow the same training, and you can agree on how to do things. But the reality is sometimes much harder, right? How do you make clear standards, like clear rules on what quality is? I mean, if you think about how long it takes us in the physical world to agree on quality, right? What is quality? How do we make it? How do we make quality, and how do we measure it, and how do we deliver it consistently? In a digital world, it's the same, even harder, because we're starting from scratch. We need to educate ourselves. And this is also already a leap into where I want to land. Start today. It's very important that you train your digital eye, that you train your teams, that you train your understanding and your see the importance of good quality 3D. That's something that you have to do over years, right, to really develop that. Second thing is making it visual. What we found, right, we're at the beginning of a digital era for fashion. What we found, there are pieces in the puzzle, right? But we need to make sure that we have good platforms. And I'm sure Sebastian will also tap into this. Good platforms that make our product visual. The power of 3D is that it is very visual, that the visuals can speak more than words. And we need to make sure that we leverage that. And then the third one, which is very important, and how we can unlock this, we need to take away the complexity. Again, making physical product is complex, but doing it in 3D, you have simulation technology that is even more complex. And you need to image the product, all things that we don't want to bother our teams with, right? So we're working on technology, a stitch, technology and training to take away those complexity and making sure that we develop a good workflow that makes you use that advantage of 3D. But it all starts at the foundation, right? We're doing this for 2.5 years. We spent at least a year, like really going deep in quality, standardization, like really looking at, okay, how do we capture blocks, right? What is a block, a starting point, a fit? How do we provide the brands that we work with a good understanding of how to digitize that, but also for materials. Scanning materials, making sure that we have the physics, the images in a very consistent way. And then that opens up a bigger bucket, right? You need to think about file sizes. You need to think about when you capture a fabric that you have very clean repeats, because someone can send you a piece of a fabric, but that can be very small, very big. And depending on that, you get or get not clean repeats. Patterns as well. Not a lot of brands have that knowledge in-house, right? So for them to see simulation early days that maybe do not have that right fit is eye-opening, and it takes a while to really get to understand that. But also in the third one, it's like the simulation of product. You can do so many more things than that you in the first level think, that it really takes a while to get there. So it's really about doing it, trying it, getting started. And for Stitch, we developed a workflow, right? That it's developing all of these libraries centrally, but also allow you to store product centrally and automate the process of imaging. And we do this for brands, but we also envision, and this is very important, that this is a place where the brand and the factory connect, that you can actually upload your file to the platform and the system automatically images the product. It automatically gives you the export, right, of a tech pack, a sketch pack. And that automation, that's where we believe is the unlock for going digital in the future. And I want to go to the last section because I know I'm already talking for about 12 minutes, and I want to make sure that there is enough time to actually consume it, right, and to really think about it. And I think I already said it a couple of times during my minutes now. Why do you need to invest now? We see across the board that, like, this is something that I mentioned in the beginning, that training your digital eye, right? You need to train yourselves and your teams in order to find the best way in working with this. On top of that, I see and hear everywhere around me, there is no brand that is going to quit doing 3D. I speak and hear a lot of brands saying like, we're really going to invest in this. This is so important, because what happens, right? If you don't have any sample, what happens if you want to sell and you don't have the right stuff, right? So you want to make sure that you're independent. But luckily, there are also a lot of brands that are looking a little bit further out, like, and that really think about like, hey, with this technology, how can we be actually more effective, make better product at the end of the day, right? Because we can do more iterations, we can work much closer with our factories. So I believe that this is a really good development for an industry as a whole, and also for the manufacturers. And I think we spoke a lot about like what is already practically there, right? And how this will unlock the way product is being made. It's about like, how do you talk about products that you make? How fast, if you can share an idea immediately and not have to wait 3 to 5 days to ship it, what would that change, right? In your communication, in your ideation, and about how people come up with new shapes, how you can share new ideas. And I think this is really going to change the whole fabric of how we work together. But there's a next level behind that. Think about when we, as an industry, as brands, as manufacturers, not only do this to produce it, but have the collections digitally available. What can you do with it? And I have two quick visualization projects that I want to share with you that are already happening, but that hopefully spark a little bit of that idea, right? Think about a brand as Tommy Hilfiger that has all of their products digitally available. What they can do, they can sell before they make, right? This hoodie, for instance, was actually sold online before it was produced. But we're also experimenting, and I hope you can hear this audio, we're also experimenting with product that was not physically made, and that we made so real that it's not only showing what it is, but it also gets an emotion, right? And think about that level of content that you can already share before something is made. But you can only do that, we can only do that as a team, as an industry, when we start investing now and train ourselves and develop that quality today, or actually yesterday, but start today. That's how where I wanted to leave you.
Thank you very much, Dominique, for that, and that was beautiful, beautiful to see. And I guess that's part of what this is all about, right? You have to see it.
You have to see it, yeah.
It's not just
you
the
can't
words.
feel it.
It's the images that count. So yeah, I really think you raised a couple of points also that are much more than about what Stitch or what PVH is doing, but what the industry, what all of us should be doing and should be working on. So that's yeah, that was really interesting to hear, and I hope that's true for the audience as well, that it triggers some thinking about what kind of investments have to be made. I think people are central, as always, in how this
people
in the industry. It's all about people.
Yeah.
That use the technology. I won't say very much more because that will happen in the questions. I wrote some questions down, and audience also remember to do that. But now I would like to move to Sebastian, who is going to introduce us in different worlds, the world of digital colors, but also the cloud and how in practice all of these a solution supplier like Color Digital can help the supply chain to run all of this. So it's my pleasure, Sebastian, to give the digital floor to you.
Thank you very much, Matthijs. First of all, I would like to thank IHKİB and IAF to invite us today to be able to present to you what we are doing. Also, compliments to Dominique. Thanks for sharing already what you have in mind, and also this future outlook of where Stitch believes industries should go. We share this vision almost completely in the same direction, and how we see ourselves and what we enabled already to do nowadays. I will show with you, share with you in a presentation. Let me start with sharing my screen, and Matthijs, looks good.
It looks good. I can see it and it moves.
Great. So I leave you here. Look and wonder.
Burada bir ses yok galiba, değil mi?
Now, before I show more to you, I first want to properly introduce myself. My name is Sebastian van der Loo. The same as Dominic, my background is out of the industry. I used to be a head of design in the German menswear industry till around about 10 years ago. When I left the industry, started my own company, focusing on development of the beloved industry. I have a lot of passion for fashion, but I realized that we need to change way we work and how we can develop to be still important to the industry. Not only next 10 years, 20 years, we did see a huge shift, especially in the menswear industry, classical menswear industry, where I come from. Around about 2013, when Color Digital was founded, I was introduced firstly to this company. Why do I share this with you? Because my background, the classical menswear industry, is all about feeling fabrics, looking at it. When the founders of Color Digital shared with me that they want to do lab dipping in a digital way, I loved them, because for me it was not possible to imagine how this would work. A few years later, I met them again, and they could prove to me how it is working. And as Matthijs introduced, we started with digital color, because color is the foundation of every product. Especially in the fashion industry, but also in the fast consumer goods industry, everything we buy, their color is a huge influence on our buying decision. So when Color Digital started, we started with color. But color without a surface is actually just color. So if we want to have an impression of color, we want to see color on a certain material. So when we started with digital color, we realize we need also to tackle the problem of digital material, because only the two, when they merge, we see something what we also can share. So having color and material combined, you talk about appearance. So how can we make sure that the appearance on the screen is always in the best possible way? When we have a material, we also want to know about the master data behind the material. So what is the composition of the material? How much of this material is in stock? Whatever other information is needed. Of course, last but not least, what Dominic also shared with us is the visual. We need to have a good rendering of this image, of the garment, of the fabric, of the button, to have a visual impression, what is meeting with the physical. So this is what we're trying to do with a team in Cologne. We are actually, the +10 is not actual anymore, it's +50. We are growing tremendous fast. Tackling all these problems, you see in the center, leaves us to the next question: how do you share this with the outer world? And when the company was founded, 2013, cloud computing, cloud working came up as a new technology. Nowadays, we all know what a cloud is, and we use the cloud to connect brands, suppliers with the entire industry. Just to highlight the 3 pillars, it all started off with color. Within our cloud, within our system, we have several tools I will show you later on where we can manage color. So if it is for the creative process to actually set the spectral color value, what we use as a digital value on the entire life cycle of the product in communication. If it is for the bulk control, if it is for the lab dipping process, if it is for recoloring images with spectral color information, so that again the appearance gets as best as it can. So this is all we do around color. The next column is 3D materials, 3D objects. If we want to share digital materials, we need to have some sort of a library where we can store and search for materials. We need to be able to digitize the materials or to render the materials. So that's 3D magic. And then the cloud renderer, again, it's the visualization on the screen. How can we manage that the appearance of the material, of the garment is as best as possible? And last but not least, search engines called PACs. How can we search for materials? How can we search for fabrics, materials digitally? But also, how can we exchange information? So do I really need to get all data sheets as a PDF of a material? Do I need to call or type emails to each of my suppliers saying, listen, what is your stock? What is the consumption of this article? Or what is the composition? What is the weight? All this information can be embedded in an image nowadays. And if you download the image, everything can be uploaded to your PLM or ERP system. So that's where we are today. And again, let me show you the 2 different routes we are capable to follow today. It all begins, as Mr. Mehmet said, with color. We actually asked the designers, the responsibles for the collection to translate their emotion into a color standard. And this is where actually the magic happens. So whatever material they have, whatever source of inspiration they have, if they standardize their emotion into a color standard, we can use this digital standard for either a virtual production cycle. So we go into digital development of graphics, fabrics, 3D objects, virtual simulation with 3D software, as Dominic showed, for example, as with Stitch, to actually the point of sale. As Dominic shared with us, Stitch BVH nowadays is capable to sell a product what is not existing. So this would be this workflow. But of course, we also can use this color standard in our actual traditional workflow. So for digital lab dipping, no need anymore to send UPSs around the world. We make the time-consuming processes in our industry, we bring them together. When it comes to sourcing, we can source color-based on trims, accessories. We can develop digital materials, but we also can make the color-based control of these materials already in production. So in production, we can control already if there are issues, color-based, material-based. So in the end, what we achieve is that this visual, if it is made via the digital chain or via the traditional chain, is always matching with the inspiration the designer had on first hand. So, and this is how we see ourselves. We are a platform and we facilitate the industry and the brands to communicate together and to overcome the daily hurdles we all know in our industry. To do so, we connect the two via the cloud, and within the cloud, we exchange digital colors, digital materials, objects, and product data. Very important is also that we see ourselves as a platform, and often forgotten in this industry that together you are stronger. So we are open to connect to all hardware suppliers, to all 3D software suppliers. We are open to connect to vendors, to brands, because we believe that if we are all exchanging information together and if we all work together, we will achieve the needed change, because we all know that we need to be faster. We all know that we need to be more sustainable. We all have the same problem that COVID is affecting our businesses. So we all need to work more efficient. So, and this we only can achieve together. Nobody of us is strong enough, big enough to do it alone. This only can be done as a team. So that is the heart and soul of Color Digital. This is where we stand for. This is where we work for. And as I said, it all starts with color. One of the tools we use a lot and our clients like a lot is the recolor tool. If you have an image, you can easily map the image, and just by drag and drop, you are able to foresee how your new seasonal color card will look like on your existing images. So, and this is nothing to do with design. This is just helping with decision making. Or even you go a step further and say, this is a run-through item. I can use the same image for my end consumer communication or for my sell-in process. So decision making based on spectral color information. And the good thing is the information here embedded in this image is the information the vendor needs to reproduce this product. And I'm missing a slide, my gosh. I had a very nice example of a shoe as well, because I wanted to show you on a sneaker how good this is also working not only on textiles, it's also working in the shoe industry. Matchbox, the whole topic of lab dipping, we all know it. It's all part of in the industry for long times. And if we look at how this process is working, we see that it is very inefficient and mostly very emotional driven. because I have a swatch, I send it to a vendor, they make some lab dips, I receive them back, and depending if I'm a professional or not, I go into a light booth and have a look at my lab dips, or I go to the window and have a look at them, and then I say, it's too reddish, or it's too yellowish, or whatever my feeling is, and depending also very much on the color vision of each individual. So what we achieve here is that we say, okay, let's talk about digital standards, let's talk about numbers, not discuss emotions anymore, and digitize the entire process. And for this, we have created the lab dip, the Matchbox tool, which enables mills and brands, vendors and brands to communicate in one tool together about the entire lab dipping process, the digital evaluation of the fabrics. And the good thing is we skip the whole process of sending around parcels around the world. And also, of course, we speed up the process. During COVID, clients that were working already with the system, for example, the color team of PVH, were able to keep on working from their home offices. Because with their laptop, with a photospectrometer, they had all tools available at home to do color proofing process. So imagine everyone should have a light box at home, quite difficult. So again, this is just showing you how the process is working. So lab dip request is generated at the brand side, is going via the cloud to the vendor, to the mill. They perform, because they are the specialist, the lab dipping, measuring the results themselves, and then the results are shared again via the cloud. End of the day, we control a digital process, and the communication between the two parties is all done in a digital way. Based on this tool, we have created bulk control. Bulk control is in the end doing the same as the lab dip tool, but we use the results from the lab dip process in production to control color. And also, again, this tool is doing the entire communication about the bulk control process. So what we try to do is also to eliminate the hurdles of hundreds of emails and centralize all information at one spot. As Dominique mentioned, digital material, a big hurdle in the industry, especially at this time where there is uncertainty of traditional fairs will take place. Will there be a Premiere Vision? Will there be a Munich Fabric Start? ISPO announced yesterday that there only will be a digital version of ISPO. So as a mill, how do we communicate virtual fabric? How can we reach out to our clients and show them our new developments? So that's where we try to help or to come up with easy tools that are not that costly, that are quick but precise, to digitize materials. And for this, we have created 3D Magic, what is in the end a normal flatbed scanner, where we have the 3D Magic tool, where you can work on the scan results. And as you see, these are basic fabrics scanned with a normal flatbed scanner, what we then can use on an avatar to get a first impression, how is this denim or wool fabric looking? What is crucial in this process, that we can assure that these two match. So actually what you see in the light box is 100% matching with what you see on the screen. And this is actually the backbone of our technology, where we say, okay, we need to guarantee that the physical sample is, the digital twin is corresponding with reality. Only if we can achieve this, end consumers, but also the industry will follow us on this digital route. Again, 3D library, next to the scanning of materials, you can of course create virtual materials. As I said, 3D objects, for example, buttons, master batch material. Then we have the physical data, and all these is put and combined together in the PAC system, what then can be connected via APIs to PLM ERP systems, so also to exchange the information. But more important, of course, are these visuals. These, by the way, are fabrics that are not existing. These are all created digital in a third-party software called Penelope that's normally used to program looms. What we do is we bring to this software the spectral color information, and then we export from this software the images, put them in the 3D library. And this is where mills, but also brands can then view the results, can share the results. And it is, of course, not only limited to fabrics, but also other kinds of materials like buttons, accessories, labels, because all these we need to have and provide for the 3D software to be able to create one garment, because only having the base material is nice, but we also want to be able to have the right buttons and the right labels and hang tags. PAC system, it's our search engine. And I always call it the booking.com of the fashion industry. So what you can do here is you can search for anything. You can search for a color. You can search for a price range. You can search for an end of use. So you can define, I want to search for a wool material. What will happen is that this search is going into the cloud, and via the cloud, it's reaching out to all vendors that are connected to the cloud. And the results of the stock available at the vendor is then played back into the cloud, and what you will receive is the search result, in this case fabrics. And as mentioned before, here you can download all important information of the fabric. So you have the spectral color information, you have the material data, you can see prices, you can see stock available, etc., depending also on what the mill or the vendor is willing to share with the different clients. Again, a small video, what is showing how Hugo Boss is using this technology already today and how they work together, in this case with Mazzotto in Italy, one of their important mills. So what you see is that Felix is requesting a new development at Mazzotto for a wool fabric. Of course, they know which standards they normally using. And what you will see now is that at Mazzotto, they measure in the available yarn colors. So they know which yarns they have on stock already are dyed, and they measure in the spectral colors to use these in their 3D software to make the virtual fabric and upload then the result into the cloud. And instantly, as soon as it is uploaded in the cloud, in Metzingen, in Germany, the Hugo Boss team can have a first impression, how would this fabric look on a basic avatar. And what you will see next is that they also want to have a second option. That's why they are designers. They always want to develop things. So, and of course, Mazzotto is happy to build or to create a new virtual fabric. Now, the good thing is what you will see is that now by a drag and drop, the design team of Hugo Boss is capable to bring it into their 3D software. And now you have a photorealistic image of this suit. And based on this photorealistic image, production is started. And what this is showing is that it works in reality. And it is shortcutting, again, a timeline, what normally takes at least 4 to 6 weeks to 24, 48 hours. And what we hear a lot, what we feel a lot is that companies say, yeah, digitalization, we need to start with it, but where to begin? What Dominic also shared with us. Most companies know that they need to go that path, but they don't know how. And it's one of our Turkish clients. I want to share with you what they did. So the first meeting we had was in May, start of the pandemic. They realized it will be difficult to visit their clients around the world. So they started in August to digitize and to put all information via PAC system into their library. And to today, so from August to today, they have over 5,000 of their fabrics digitized. And they use this tool now, together with tools like Teams or Zoom, to meet with their clients globally on a virtual base and exchange their new collections and use this entire tool as their sales tool. And why do I share this with you? It's just proving that going from analog to digital, it's not magic. It's possible to do if you take the decision, if you create the needed resources, then it's possible also to overcome these hurdles that sometimes look very, very high and big from the beginning. So
Sebastian,
again,
we need to move to a wrap up.
Okay, my last slide. Very good. Thank you, Matthijs.
Okay, well, well timed.
So what we try to achieve is to speed up processes, lower cost, raise the quality bar, so by subjective quality impressions to measurements. And of course, if we streamline our processes, if we reduce cost materials, then we are automatically working more sustainable. So that's it from my side. Thank you very much. And I hope I didn't stretch the time limit too much.
Well, thank you very much, Sebastian. And it's really good to be taken on the journey and to see how this really actually works. There are so many aspects to it. So it's really nice to see us entering the digital world through one of the aspects, color, which seems simple, but I don't think it is. And then, again, showing how so many processes we still have in our industry that can be made so much better. So I think that's great to watch. Now, I would like to move quickly to Mr. Mehmet Kaya, because that is the concept of this webinar series where we mix international and Turkey and Turkish manufacturing. So I'm really eager to hear, Mr. Kaya, from your perspective on the topic of digitization.
Matthias, thank you very much, gentlemen. It was really inspiring for the industry. But I thought I should run away from here because it seems you are just making another layer in our industry from top to bottom, named digitalization. So, from traditional way to this up-to-date modern way, it is a long journey, but you kept it very short. We have to be very fast. These ideas are very bright, and it was nice to have just a minute ago. When I say minute ago, maybe yesterday, day before yesterday, and it suddenly become must-have rather than nice to have. When I visited Tommy Hilfiger showrooms in Amsterdam, I was really shocked because there was all big screens on the wall and huge giant tablets from the tables, and everybody's just calling everything from the tables. And if you want to touch the fabric, just drawers coming aside to you. And then I said, okay, what is this? I mean, what are we doing here? Or what is my position here? How am I going to cope with all these things? Basically what we are doing here, from physical to digital. And these things explained, Sebastian explained one point and Dominic explained another point. You know, these are the ring of our production chain. You know, these are just, you know, ignition periods in this long journey. So we have to change all ideas and set up in our production ground as well, which is not easy. But what is happening here, you know, we have custom union. I think these days we have to make product union. And we have to just, you know, get rid of all our borders. And we have to use our common libraries, softwares, and everything. Since the very beginning of this journey, when I visited Amsterdam, I immediately started. I mean, yesterday is today. And, you know, yesterday is already came, and tomorrow is today. So we start working on this. And again, I'm saying it's really inspiring, gentlemen. And as a Turkish manufacturer, I got two hats in here. One of them is a manufacturer of PVH Group, which is right connection at the moment, Dominic. I can tell something about that, what we are trying to do in this extent. And secondly, my IHKİB hat, which is very important. Let me start with the IHKİB side, as I'm in the IHKİB office at the moment. As an IHKİB, together with our Minister of Industry and Technology, we are just making a big unit together with co-financed by European Union. And we have initiative at the moment from design to production. What we are trying to do, because this education needs material and needs capital, needs so many workplace over here, just, you know, technical assistance is very important for this transformation. This is the general approach of our organization to our members over here. We are just trying to give every possible help and assistance for those people. And it is really useful. And we're just keeping these things very fast because, as I said, I mean, tomorrow is yesterday at the moment. We have to be very fast and we have to be, you know, coping with all the extension. What I'm saying is, you know, again saying manufacturing union, product union is really important. And what we're going to do that, we're all learning together. I have to say that. You know, color approval, you know, how long it takes in our journey. If everything is right, maybe a matter of minutes. And then if it's not wrong, I mean, if it's not right, then you got a big problem because it's like a match. You know, if you just make one match from the right tree, maybe you can make a million. But one match can burn the whole forest. This is the same thing. That's why we have to be very careful to write matching over there. We need these libraries together, understandings together, and you know, expectations are changed. And now we are trying to give more efficient service for designers' expectation. And we have different decision makers all the way along of this journey, and everybody is expecting quick, prompt, and precise performance from manufacturers. This is the way we have to learn. We will do that, and we are already doing that one. Then by means of this one, we are going to be more integrated and doing things together. And you just, you know, because of we have no borders anymore, and we have to be traceable each other. You know, maybe in some point, by means of this digital transformation, we're going to be making in-season inventory management together, because I want to see what is selling on the market and what is going to be my you know, initial preparation for that fast service over there, because speed is very important. And what sort of development I'm going to be handling, because there is no time for discovery. You know, this kind of things has to be alongside and without any time consuming. Has to be there. Whenever a designer just, you know, putting a hand, they have to find that material, trim, whatever is needed. But when we're just having this kind of, for example, color digitalization, we should go that deep until the recipe of the dye stuff over there. You know, this journey is very deep journey. Some part of this journey is a little bit darker than the others. So all those darker areas has to be enlightened over there, because we need a better understanding of the quality. You know, we used to produce maybe only for our customer. We used to produce only for our quality level was up to the level of quality controller. But from now on, in the production base, we are not expecting any external quality control from the decision maker of the company. We have to do everything beforehand. We have to do everything proper. It's really important. We shouldn't leave anything for future. decision over that. That's why it's really important. When we just say color continuity, for example, this is one of the main problems because of dye stuff and raw material continuity. Because when you say color continuity, you should talk about the ingredients over there. What are you talking about? Different water in the winter, different water in the spring, different water in summertime. So many different topics over here. As a manufacturer point of view, this is really something we like to be in, and we are already there, because we are not talking about result control at the moment. The control is based on our journey. We have to be process controlling over there. We have to be making control in stage rather than going to the end product. End product has to be perfect. And this is really important for us. That's why, I mean, in this case, we need a different calibration of our manufacturing base, because when we're just talking about all these compliance issues before, and compliance was one of the main topic for last couple of years because of these sustainability issues. Just imagine, since this Rana Plaza disaster, everything are changed. But today we are just talking about totally different things. That's why I'm saying we need this close collaboration, and we're all learning. We are ready to educate our system, because we have to get this machine learning as well, apart from our people over here. Because when I see my existing traditional setup over here, I mean, honestly speaking, we don't have that new generation, new profiles. This is different profiles. We need to have somebody who knows pattern, who knows the color continuity, who has an idea about what is design, and also some, substantial amount of technical know-how. That's really important, because we used to have different people for different extension at the moment, but now we have to combine everything together and just make it once very, very quick. That's why it's really important for us. By means of this, we're going to be more integrated. So we're going to be more fruitful for our demanding part as manufacturing part over here. We're also designing our supply chain as well. Let's say about trimming, for example. And in Turkey, we're just trying to copy, because of these pandemic issues helped us a lot. We used to get all these trims, for example, from Far East. Still can be done, but we have to be prompt and quick, so we have to develop things together in here as well. That's very important for us, and we need to get different algorithms. We need this machine learning together. We need everything changed at the moment, because this traditional way is not applicable anymore. We understood that. And our setup is really important. Compliance, effectives, everything's here. There is no problem on that one. Again, I'm saying it was nice to have, but today it must have. We changed a lot of things, and honestly speaking, in general, our ERP level is not up to the expected level at the moment. We're trying to train our people why we should do this all on the digital base, because traceability is very important. Because when we just opening all these doors and getting rid of all these borders, that means we are traceable. We have to be up to the level of that expectation is really important for us. This visual technology is very important, and three-dimensional simulation become the reality at the moment. I mean, we cannot pretending. It has to be proper and precise over there. And maybe, as Dominique mentioned, maybe we have to talk about a fabric reader. Is very important, because fabric reader is essential part of this simulation, because picture is picture. But when this touch of the fabric is very important, we need these definitions, we need this library over there, and more algorithm we need for that one as well. When we just, Sebastian said light box, yes, light box is our enemy, because when we go there, what's going to be our lap tip and what's going to be bulk? So what is our tolerance? Who's going to make this decision? So we need this tolerance, because what's happening, sometimes we have a slight difference. I saw your diagram over there. If it's same corner, but if we just, increase 0.025 acceptance level, saves us maybe minimum 25% reprocessing in dye. This is a lot. Because when you're saving 25% reprocessing in your dyeing process, that means you're saving energy, you're saving water, you're saving chemical treatment, everything. You're saving ecological over there. That's why it's really important. We need this common understanding and who is going to be using this tolerance and what is the tolerance is. That's really important. So as we, when we are making this kind of open working conditions over here, trust-based business at the end of the day, what are we going to trust for? The only target is to get a proper garment at the end of the day. Better product. What is better product? I mean, in this case, we are not talking about disposable items. We're just talking about something durable, something eco-friendly, something maybe renewable, something reusable. You know, you can add many re in front of all those words, which we are using at the moment. That's why it's really important for us. And the better touch demands on the customer side. We have to be, you know, feeding all these demands exactly. But what I'm saying is, when we just talk about sustainable point of this business, first of all, we have to save our water. That's why color continuity is very important. That's why we have to talk about our dyeing recipes. It is very important because dyeing recipes, slight differences in this dyeing continuity brings us so many wastage, time wastage, water wastage, and, you know, killing the time, money at the end of the day. Ecologically, it's not good for us, I can say that. That's why, I mean, from your point, we need more information, more data, because this data is really important for us to design our future planning. And also collaboration is the essential part of this one. We need to collaborate over that. So in our organization, new division is already introduced because this profile is not a common profile for us. And I used to have only two person working for this 3D. Dominic, now we have 6. You know, now I'm talking about one person in Amsterdam, just to put our Amsterdam office as well, just to be close to the office as well. So we have to exchange our ideas very quick, and we have to have better understanding of this expectation. It's really important because everything you're designing over there coming to this production ground and has to be fulfilled over there. If you make it right at first sight, that's fine. But whenever we just reprocessing any stage of this, then because of margins are so small, time is so small. When I say margin, it's not money. Not only money, of course, money as well, but other things. Margins, time margin is limited. Color margin is limited. That's why the tolerance is very important. And we have to have this collaboration from top to bottom. That's why, again, I'm saying we are all learning. And we had so many progress. And during this pandemic period, it was really useful of having this kind of facilities. Not very proper one, but it was really, you know, time saving and putting us at different extension. And now, as you know, we're just making this Calvin Klein new season on digital base. This is really important. We want to make it properly, and, you know, we want to be proud of what we are doing at the moment. This is really important for us. You know, I can say so many more things, but it's short. We are learning in our production ground. Also, we are training and technical service being given by the association over here. I think this is all from me now. If any question, then I can answer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kaya. You know, that was highly interesting. You know that we are speaking about a fundamental topic, because I think you managed to tie into the conversation very many important elements and important dilemmas of the apparel industry. And that goes to show, I think, how fundamental this change is to our industry. And I think where the question was to listen to the manufacturer's point of view, it's really interesting to hear, you know, some of the key technical points coming back into the conversation, such as the color dye stuffs. I mean, we somehow have a chance through this process to talk about the things that really matter in making the products. And also what I heard, what I think is one of the more difficult things to understand, but one of the most important things is that going from analog to digital is not like flipping a switch or replacing an analog process and putting a digital process in place. It's redesigning the entire process. I'm reading a book by Rebecca Henderson, a Harvard professor, and she speaks about the architecture, the process, the architecture of processes. So it's changing the entire architecture of processes of our industry, and that's not just a replacement. It's a re-engineering, and that I think was reflected very well in your story. I guess it's time now for some Q&A, and as I promised, I would start with the first speaker, with Dominique. Listening to your presentation, and I was hinting at it just now a little bit, we get the feeling that you're also saying that actually we have the chance to make our products better. Is because of this technology and changing processes. Is that right, or am I on the wrong track?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that is one of my personal motivations as well. You wanna put, like, I mean, if you look at how we work today, or in most of the cases, always short in time, right? There's never enough time. Also from a creative perspective, there's never enough time to really research deeply and form and shape and where you really want to get to. And that time is only getting less and less and less. And what I think these tools, and with this whole new concept of looking at design and looking at product development, manufacturing, and I think it was mentioned before as well. I think when Mr. Kaya, to look at the skill set, right? Because this type of work also will require a different skill set of our future designers. And I can tell you that skill set is already there. If I look at the new generation, and we have a big network in this space of designers, they're not only stylists anymore, right? These are designers that are highly technical, that understand the fundamentals of patterns, that are able to create something from scratch. So these are the perfect people to talk to with your manufacturing team, and be very close to each other and shoot off ideas much faster.
Yes, right.
And I'm definitely convinced that will increase quality, increase the value that we put in product that we make. And I think that value, the amount of value that we create, is in the future going to be so much more important, also from a sustainability perspective.
Great, thanks. Now this is, I mean, and this is true for everything I've heard from the speakers. It creates an optimistic mood as well. I think we're in the middle of a crisis and pandemic, but this change is really capable of improving things.
I think we need that, Matthijs. I think it's about, like, we need that optimistic outlook, right? We are looking for new ways of doing things so we can actually continue to think and really improve ourselves. I think this moment is really asking for that, right? That you want to have something that you can actually focus on to improve and change. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Thank you for that, Dominique. Sebastian, I want to focus a little bit on the supplier side, in the sense of the raw materials, the textile suppliers, because I was wondering, when I was listening to you, what should they be doing, right? I mean, Marzotto, we got the example that it's high end. They obviously are already in a close collaboration with some of their customers, including Hugo Boss. But if you look at the more fashion oriented, should textile suppliers be really like crazy uploading all of their fabric collections in all of these libraries that start to exist? How is this working?
Now, I think especially when it comes to fabric suppliers or accessory suppliers, they have some huge challenges at the moment. So how can they stay in touch with their clients? Because the fairs we know from the past, if it's Premiere Vision, NNN, we still are uncertain if they will take place, if there will be digital fairs. And so, as Dominic said, it's not only changing 3D is not only changing the design processes, and until COVID everyone was talking about, yeah, we need to change in future, but forced by COVID we rapidly need to change, and we need to think of new ways of how can we get in touch with Dominic in Amsterdam when I'm a fabric supplier from Istanbul. I cannot hop on a plane at the moment. I cannot bring my suitcases with fabrics. So I'm not saying you need to take everything you have into digital versions, but I think it would be mandatory to stay in touch with your consumers, with your clients, with the brands, and share with them the new developments. And maybe you send by UPS in future only a bunch with feelers, because haptics is something we cannot do digital yet. We cannot feel digital, the fabric. But as you could see, you know, you are capable to see designs, you are capable to see color variations, and work together also with the mills, together with your brands on creating new color variations, maybe even online. I mean, it's not necessary that these processes need to be lined up behind each other. This can also be a digital cooperation. So I think as a vendor, it's important to discover how you can work with your brand base, so with your clients on digital procedures, and how you can stay in digital communication. And there are several tools to do so, and we are one of the tools. We have this platform where we say, okay, this is a communication platform, and as Dominic mentioned, platforms for our libraries where I can give designers the possibility to be creative, to scroll through hundreds of materials, hundreds of accessories, will also speed up and further develop the possibilities in the entire design process. So, and there is no right route, there is no wrong route. So, because you are asking what they need to do.
Yeah.
This is highly depending on the form of the organization.
But it seems they probably need to get more involved. They can also be a partner in the design process more than before as a textile supplier.
Absolutely. And working on a new level of communication. So not only on a pull effect, but also bringing new developments on a daily base or on a weekly base, and not only yearly, seasonal to the client. So the exchange with brands can be much higher as it is nowadays in the classical way. Great.
I'm going to ask a question to Mr. Kai, and then I'm going to take a question I have from the audience. And then looking at the time, I think we're moving to a wrap up. Mr. Kaya, hearing what you were saying about schooling and training of people, do you think maybe on a national scale or even on an international scale, and now I'm talking about World Bank and other organizations, the shift to a digital supply chain and the learning that requires at companies should be the major topic? So even if we're talking about a recovery in the industry, if we would be asked as IAF by World Bank, so what do you think is needed to pull the apparel industry out of this crisis? Would you then say, well, it's training people to make the digital transformation?
We should be working on that one, because schooling is the essential part of this challenge, because it's a challenge and we have to change things. You know, we used to, when we have a new demand from customer, we used to ask why. Why we going to do that? Why not going to doing as before? But today we are just asking, how can we do that? You know, we aim to do that, but you know, the only thing we need is how we're going to do it. What is the expectation over here? You know, it was only a supply chain before. It suddenly become a partner chain, because you cannot separate all these ideas when just, you know, saying design point of view and, you know, coloring point of view and producing point of view. Everything is just come to each other. That's why, I mean, we need a new generation workers profile in the industry. So we need schooling over there. It's really important, as we already started, because we have our high schools supported by our association. And also we have Istanbul Moda Academy, which is very important, having very important role of these things. And also we are working with both companies like Brosware and also Clo. We made Istanbul Moda Academy to give this training for those people for the industry. You know, because when we're just talking about this numerical approval in the industry, we're just talking about standards. But garment manufacturing doesn't have that much standard at this stage at the moment. So we have to figure out what is our standard over here? What is the customer's expectation? How can we handle that desired better product over there? So we need some understanding properly from top to bottom. That's why we need a common library, common tools, and of course, common terminology over here. So once we get these points and you put the schooling over there, and you could put any extension on top of that. That's what I can say.
Great, thank you. Yeah, thank you. That's a clear answer. Yeah, the one question is a very practical one. Setting up a digital showroom. So it's not specifically aimed at any speaker, but maybe Dominique or Sebastian, if you would be asked the question, okay, so what steps should I take as a manufacturer to set up a digital showroom? Where would you start?
Let me start with
please go ahead.
Mr. Kaya, please go ahead.
You know, first of all, as a manufacturer, we're just trying to put every past season product on the digital base, which is reachable in 3D points. I mean, you can go that extent. We will give all this access, and everyone who is just, you know, permitted there, they can go that deep, and they can check the fabric, even the fabric conception, weight, and you know, whatever is needed on the garment, which the designer want to know, that it's already there, which is very important. And also they can reach our library for, let's say, past 5 seasons, which is very important. And also fabric library, trim library is going to be, everything is listed under the style name over there. Picture and all the definition of that garment is going to be there. And also digital showroom, it was again, repeatedly saying it was nice to have, but today nobody is traveling one country to the other. So we have to give all these pictures as much as possible and as colorful as possible, and it's satisfactory as possible. That's why we are trying. That's the reason we need to know what is the real expectation. That's why we need more information. That's why we need more collaboration.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, collaboration is a common theme. Sebastian, Dominique, any of you care to add a comment to this?
I think also important is not only to look at the digital showroom itself. So if I'm a manufacturer, maybe the digital showroom is the end result of what I'm doing as a manufacturer. So also look at the other procedures you are currently doing with your client. And for example, as Mr. Kaya said, lab dipping can be a painful process. Also, if we talk about measurements and tolerances, here we need to work together with as partners in the industry, but look at your processes in your company, look how you can maybe digitize already these processes to have the components to have a digital end product, what you then can share with your clients in a digital showroom. So often now we just focus on the selling side, digitize something to be able to transport it to the point of sale, but also think about how can we already digitize products to the direction of the showroom. I think that's one thing I think is very important for our industry, not only think at the end result, but already look into the processes.
Very clear. Yeah, Dominique, last word on that?
Yeah, no, just only emphasizing what's already been said. Like, you don't need a fancy showroom. Make good product, and you can, like, your rack could be a folder that you share on any platform, right? It's kind of that, it can be that simple, but I think that the quality and the consistency of your digital product is the thing that I would focus on. And as you evolve, there are digital showrooms. Even, and if you're, I mean, if when you're ready, and if you're ready, maybe you are, then there are digital showrooms available on the market that you can also buy. Even the PVH digital showroom, which is called Hatch, is commercially available. So I think that's out there. If you're ready, go and check that out. If you're at the starting point, start at the start, focus on product, and then your idea of what that showroom needs to be will evolve.
Great. Yeah, so that's a clear answer from all of you. It's a result of a process, and I guess that brings me to the conclusion. We have been talking about technology, which is very central to this. Without the technology, we couldn't do this. But in the end, it's about process, and it's about investments in the process, which requires the mindset of people, the training of people, the understanding of people, and that part I very much like, requires us to work together very much more. So it's a collaborative process, and as I heard, that is certainly between brands and retailers and manufacturers, but it goes much further. As Mr. Kaya was calling it, the dark areas that we still have. So we need the flashlights to shine on those dark areas, and it's all bringing it back together. One nice analogy where it's history is in touch with the present. We've been talking about Amsterdam, where PVH is located, and the link with Turkey. Now, actually, the part of the wealth of Amsterdam that was there in the 17th century came from what was then the southern Netherlands, what is now Belgium, and it came from color. It was the guys who were producing, the dye stuff guys who were producing the colors, which was at that time sometimes very expensive because it was quite rare, especially blue. So they got very rich. But you know, it's nice to have in a conversation that we're going back to the dye stuff guys, and saying, okay, so how does this all work? We get much more connected because we can do everything much faster, and much more interconnected, and also improve the quality of the product, and be able to talk more about the product itself, the value of the product, than before. So I hope that this webinar told you about more than the technology, told you about the process, and about not just individual companies, but the entire industry and what we all need to do together. So this is the moment where I'd really like to thank our excellent speakers. In order of appearance, Dominique Sluiter, Sebastian van der Loo, and Mr. Mehmet Kaya. And I would really like to thank all of the audience. And I would really like to thank IHKİB for making this series of 3 webinars possible together with IAF. It was a great example of international collaboration. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much for your participation.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.